The element of light. This is one of my favorites to talk about. And you'll notice I gave you a lot of videos about this that I'll reference in this mini lecture. One of the first concepts you'll notice your book will deal with, and is very important to composition, is chiaroscuro. And this is an Italian term, and it literally means light and dark. And you'll notice on the diagram here what chiaroscuro does is it uses the light and the dark to model realism within a form, right? And within to give it mass. So you'll notice you use from lighter shades, right, down into darker shades to create this sense of modeling, right, of the form. This is another diagram as well that helps you see this concept. Chiaroscuro is very important, especially with like painting, photography, filmmaking, because it's the use of light to create mass, right? To create depth. It helps to create realism within your composition. A really great example of this is in your textbook. It is a very famous painting by Caravaggio, David with the Head of Goliath. And we'll speak about Caravaggio when we get to the Italian Baroque. He's very famous for these dark, dark backgrounds that you see and kind of these forms emerging out of the darkness. You'll notice here the chiaroscuro, you have this spotlight kind of effect on the first part using the light, right? Shifting away into darkness, using that chiaroscuro to create a realism to the figure, a mass to the figure. And, overall, it just creates a very pleasant effect, a very beautiful effect, right, in the painting. Some more recent examples you might look at. This is Edward Steichen. He did a lot of photography in his life, but I picked out, particularly for you, some fashion photography that was created for Vogue and Vanity Fair magazine. And what I always thought was very cool about Steichen's work for fashion photography is it's just as artistic as any other type of photography, where he uses the clothes to create, again, you'll notice this tension of light and dark, or uses his lighting, right, to create the tension of the light and dark as well. You can look at filmmakers like Stanley Kubrick as another great example of how chiaroscuro shows up, right, in artistic disciplines. But chiaroscuro is a very important light concept, right? You might have noticed I gave you a music video for one of my favorite artists, Hollande, or Hollande, if you want to say it more Englishy. This is her video for Son of a Gun. And the reason why I included it was because it really is a play with light and dark, where she's literally singing this song about, a guy who doesn't sound like he's that great. And you have part of the video where she's dressed in darker colors. She's more severe looking. And then other parts of the video where she's dressed in lighter colors, and the landscape actually shifts from light to dark as well. And there's a lot of chiaroscuro used in here. So sometimes when I'm teaching art appreciation, I want you to really think about the pop culture you see around you, and how a lot of pop culture, for obvious reasons, is influenced by artistic culture, in that there's often very much a strong connection between what you see around you on a daily basis in media, what you're consuming, and the connection to art. So if you watch the video, hopefully you'll enjoy it both as an artistic piece and also as just a piece of popular culture, which is a fun song and, something that, is part of our media-driven existence these days. So take a look at it and think about the elements of light and chiaroscuro there. Some artists that you might run into that use light as their subject matter. Here you have Dan Flavin, personal favorite. He was working he started working around in the 60s, 70s, and he was part of the minimalist movement, which was about kind of this idea of taking the elements of art, what art really was. So like painting is a painting, right? Sculpture is a sculpture. What, don't have a subject. Think about what makes up the medium, right, of painting or sculpture, let's say, and just exploring that. So he decided he was going to use light as his medium, and I guess media within his medium is the best way to put it. And he started to create these light sculptures. What I think is also fascinating is it's something pretty much anyone could have thought up and done, because anyone can go buy fluorescent tube lighting down at the Home Depot, right? So he explores this idea of, can light be subject? Can light be what you're doing? James Turrell, he's a contemporary artist still working today. I gave you a bunch of videos on him. I can't stress enough, watch your videos. And he works with light and the illusion of light, the concept of light. This is his piece, Raymar Pink White, which looks like you're looking at something that has depth, and then you get closer and you realize it's flat, so it's illusionistic. Here's another piece that he did, an installation where you could believe that it's a window to outside, but then it's not. More illusion. See how this works, I hope. It's, to me, a very brilliant methodology. Here's some other works where I love seeing people in the photographs looking at, experiencing the pieces, so you get a sense, if you're in the museum, how it functions. This is a project that he did for Rice University, where he creates this kind of floating pink lit mass, and this hole punched through right to the sky above. It's just a really cool investigation of light and color. This one is so great. Light Rainfall. And you'll notice if you're looking at the title, it's a pun, right? It's a pun, word pun. I actually got to experience this work when I was doing my master's degree in Arizona. I went to the University of Arizona in Tucson. They were having a James Turrell show up at the Scottsdale Museum of Contemporary Art in Phoenix, right outside. It's a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona. And I heard that they're going to have this Turrell show. And my background is contemporary art. So I was like, oh yeah, I am not missing that one. So I went up and saw the show, and they had this piece there, and you'll notice it functions almost like a medical device. And the women are dressed in these medical inspired outfits. You literally had to wait in a line. I had to wait, I think, about 2 hours. This is before cell phones too. So imagine you just had to entertain yourself or talk to your neighbor. You waited in line, and then when it was your turn, you'll notice they sort of loaded you into this. It's almost like an MRI machine. So if you're claustrophobic, it's a struggle, and I am claustrophobic, so it was a bit of a struggle for me, but I knew it would be worth it. They load you onto this kind of platform, and then they push you into the machine. And when you're inside, all these light effects start happening, and it's almost like when you have light deprivation in the dark and you start to see colors, and it's kind of trippy and kind of bizarre and kind of weird. And it was just one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. So if you're ever somewhere and you can experience this, wow, go for it, for real. His ongoing project, James Turrell's ongoing project, is Rodin Crater. This is located in northern Arizona near the Flagstaff area. And basically, he bought a bunch of land, literally with this crater on it, and started to do modification projects to the landscape to create a holistic environmental piece, in a sense. It's really funky. I've never been to this, unfortunately, but someday I hope to go back and see it. But you'll notice, just looking at the photo, you can see different work he's done on the surface of the crater, down along the edge of the crater. One of the most famous ones, of course, are these oculi. Oculus just means eye or opening. So you notice it's up in the top. So he has these, and they're supposed to function almost like, he talks about how they're like environmental chapels. So he gives sort of a little bit of a religious overlay to them, which is interesting. But people go and sit here and can watch the changing of the light, the changing of the weather conditions. There's a meditative aspect to them. Sit, look, think, right? Which more and more we don't do as humans. So sit, contemplate, think about the passage of time. His works call upon you to think about the big questions around you at all times. So it's pretty cool. And if you've ever seen Drake's video for Hotline Bling, and I gave it to you in your module, so if you haven't watched it, watch the video. Once again, you could see how pop culture bleeds together with art. Drake has openly stated that Turrell was an inspiration for his video. And if you watch the video, it very much mimics a lot of Turrell's works, where you're seeing this use of light and color. So again, it's a fun way of thinking about how pop culture is influenced by art.